Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today, I am going to talk to you about wrenches. I just did a quick Google search and I wanted to see what was the most recommended wrench for people who are just starting out doing body work. And I found some of the most ridiculous articles you can even imagine. I found articles that listed 48 types of wrenches, 15 types of wrenches that are the most important wrenches that you should own, the top 5 wrenches that you absolutely need, etc., etc. That's a lot of bullshit. You really need one type of wrench, and a second type of wrench is really nice to have, and that'll cover you pretty much 99% of the time. And anyone who says differently is probably trying to sell you something. Um, this is mostly for body work. I'm sure that for mechanics, they probably need like a third wrench would be nice. Something that I'm not thinking of right now. Um, but as far as body work and really most, especially on big trucks, I mean, I've been working on big trucks for 12 years and I've basically had 2 sets of wrenches. Well, I have four. One standard and one metric for both types. But those have gotten me through the last 12 years without any issues, so it should be fine for you. Um, so the first wrench I want to talk about is the open end box end. It's just a standard wrench. This side is called the open end. This side is called the box end. This is pretty much the wrench you're going to use, I don't know, the vast majority of the time. Um, I would suggest getting the 12 point box ends, just because they make it a little easier for you to grab around on different stuff. 6 point, you don't really use that much. They're at least in my experience, they're used more for when you need something really sturdy. But this wrench right here will get you through pretty much everything you're going to need the vast majority of the time. I would suggest, so there's a few things that I look for. The first one is don't bother getting Snap-on, Matco, any of the big names. You're much better off for hand tools, in my opinion, getting something like this, Husky, or Craftsman, or I wouldn't say cheap. You want them well made, but you want them to have a lifetime warranty that people are actually going to follow through on. A lot of times, I'm sure many people out there will tell you that Snap-on isn't the easiest people to get you to warranty a tool. Matco too. Home Depot does not care. If I put this thing in the vise out there and broke it in half, if I cut this thing in half with my plasma cutter, they would still take it back and give me a new one. And so for me, it's been the easy. They've given me no hassle anytime I've needed to warranty these. And I actually have 2 sets. That way, if one does break, I always have another one. And they're way cheaper. So a Snap-on set's probably going to run you in the, at least $100 for the 10 through, or through for like the 8mm through 19. I think was like 120 something bucks. This was $20 for the set, and it's lasted me for, I think I've had this set for like 6 years. The other thing I would look for is a lot of times the Snap-on wrenches actually I don't like anyways because they have very thin metal here. These are a little thicker, and they absorb a lot more of the impact, and they're easier to hold on to. And I've had a little bit of trouble in the past with Snap-on. So that's the first wrench. That's metric, and then I would also suggest getting the same thing in standard. These wrenches I've had for 12 years. I've never broken one. Never had any issue. They're Craftsman professionals. They're the best wrenches I've ever used, bar none. I've used sets that were, from pretty much every major and minor tool brand, and these are the best ones I've ever used, and they're my favorite. And I've never had an issue. The only other type of wrench I would suggest getting would be ratchet wrenches. These ones, specifically the one with the flexible head. I have this set here, which is a ratchet wrench, but there's no flexible head, and I don't really like them. They're kind of a pain in the ass. I would just use a normal wrench over one of these. These little gears in here, this little like switcher thing, it breaks a lot. I've had a lot of issues with just these kinds of gear wrenches in general, no specific brand. but just in general, I've had a difficult time. So I would really suggest spending, if you really want to splurge and get a second set of wrenches, getting the flex head ratcheting wrenches. And those are good for areas where you can't fit a gun, and you don't want to sit there all day cranking on a wrench. It's just a lot easier. You can put your finger right over the top, put it on top of the bolt, and just ratchet it, and it goes real quick. But that's really the two types of wrenches I would suggest getting. Everything else, I mean, I'm sure that there's applications, and maybe they'll make your life slightly easier, but for the money spent, you're better off just using the most basic tools, in my opinion. They're, like I said, if you're like a mechanic and you need to get into tight spots, then maybe I've seen like some like real short wrenches that would probably be useful. But even on trucks, there's enough room where you really don't even need those very often. Yeah, like I said, I've been doing this for 12 years, and I've never had any need for any wrench other than these two types. So, that's just my opinion. You don't have to listen to it. But I would at least, think about it before you spend the money. A lot of people, I think, especially when you're first getting into it, you got a lot of money to blow. You're making good money for the first time and you don't have a lot of responsibilities and stuff. You go and you spend a lot of money on tools that you don't really need. And you buy like the most expensive Snap-on tools, the newest stuff. And really, at least in my experience, you can pretty much still get away with the same tools that people have been using for, like the last 100 years. So take it for what it's worth. I hope that this helps somebody. And if you could do me a favor and subscribe and give us a like, I would really appreciate it. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. And if you need a truck painted, be sure to give us a call. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all at A1 Autobody NH. That's spelled A1 Autobody, just like normal, and then NH. So, I hope to hear from you guys. If you've seen this video and you like our Instagram, do me a favor and just shoot me a message or something and just let me know that this is where you heard about us. Thank you very much and have a wonderful day.